When performing BEDMAS involving multiplication and division, we go from left to right. What is 8 times 4? It is 32. Divided by 2 is 16. Now let's try this BEDMAS question. There are two main parts, part 1 and part 2. These are terms. Terms are separated by plus or minus signs. Let's work on part 1. We have the inside here, which is a negative number, negative 8 squared. And we're making progress. Now let's work on part 2. We have a minus sign, and we have negative 1 to the exponent 101. What is negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1? A repeating number of times, 101 times. Because 101 is odd, the overall result becomes negative 1. And we're dividing by 2 divided by 1, because anything to the 0 is 1. Now let's work on the first term again. Negative 8 squared is 64, because 2 negatives multiply to be positive. And we have 2 negatives here, which becomes a positive. What is 1 divided by 2? 2 divided by 1 is 2, is the same thing as multiplied by the reciprocal. And when doing BEDMAS, we multiply first before adding. So we have 64 plus 1/2. Anything times 1 is itself. What is 64 1/2? 2 times 64 is 128 plus 1 is 129 over the denominator 2. So this is our final answer. Now what is 0 divided by 0? Remember that in math we can't divide by 0. So we'll say the answer is undefined. Another math question we have to be careful about is taking the square root of a negative number. What is the square root of negative 9? What times what is negative? We'll say the answer is undefined. Technically, the square root of negative 1 is defined as I, an imaginary number, but this is not part of the BC Math curriculum. Let's try one more. Suppose the blade of a canoe paddle is 2/5 of its total length. So this is called a blade. This here is 2 out of 5 of this entire length. And let's call this x. So this is x, the entire length of the paddle. The shaft portion is 100 centimeters. So this is 100 centimeters. And this is the leftover. This entire paddle is 5 out of 5. This blade portion is 2 out of 5. So when we're talking about the entire portion, 1 minus 2/5 is equals to 5 out of 5 minus 2/5, which is 3/5, the leftover. So this is 3 out of 5. So we're given that 3/5 of the entire paddle, 3/5 of x, the word of, of, x means we multiply, is 100 centimeters. So this is just a matter of algebra now. We multiply both sides by 5, and we get 3x equals 500. Dividing both sides by 3, we have x equals 500 over 3. So we successfully found the length of one paddle. Now the challenge is to find the length of a dozen paddles. That's 12 paddles. So we multiply both sides by 12. We get 12x equals 12 times this amount here, 500 over 3, is the same thing as simplifying this. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So we multiply 4 times 500, which we can do. 5 times 4 is 20, and we add 2 more zeros. So the total length of all these paddles, tip to tip, is 2,000 centimeters. Or dividing by 100 is the same thing as saying 20 meters long.